You know, what happens when you do a blog article? Goes up on the front page of your blog, correct? What happens when you do the next article? What happens to that first one? Goes down. After a couple go down, what happens to those bottom ones? They're in the archives. They're still there, and someone could find them, but they're not working as hard for you as possible. And it was good content originally, so let's not let it die. Let's breathe new life into it and put it to work for us. Now, I should say, first of all, I'm going to give you a lot of my examples of stuff that I've done, and that's not just to show you all the stuff that I've done, but I want you to know that the things that I'm telling you today are not theory. They're not something I heard or something I read about. These are all things that I do for my business. Now, the book, that's what Dale actually found. What I had realized was I had all this blog content, but no one was realistically going to sit there and read through years and years of blog articles. And not all of it was going to be great stuff. But what if I could put all the relevant stuff, organize it into a free ebook that I could put on my site for people to download? So that's what I did. Books have a higher perceived value. They just do. There's more, anybody can put up a blog post, but if you took the time to put it into a book, and it doesn't need to be a fancy book, you could do it in Word or Pages and put a nice cover on it. It has a higher perceived value. It can also be sold. I don't happen to sell mine, but if you're an expert in your field, why not have it as an extra revenue stream? I also offer mine as a bonus for other promotions. I ran across a gal who wrote a book, and when she sold it online, she wanted to offer bonuses to the people who bought it. So she went to other people and said, "Can I offer your book as a bonus?" I did, and what does that do? That exposes my name and my company to people I wouldn't have otherwise known to reach. And then, as I mentioned, it organizes your blog copy into an easier to read format because somebody really doesn't often want to go through all the archives of your site. Now, maybe you don't have a book in you, but you want to do a special report. That might be a smaller thing. Maybe it's only 10 pages. It's fine-tuning the focus of your articles for a specific market. For example, I wanted to focus on marketing to consultants. So I took some of the content from my blog that related to that and just put it into a free quick report. And it's a great freebie for outreach, direct outreach. Sometimes when I'm making calls, cold calls to businesses, I don't want to tell them, I'm not trying to sell to them. All I'm trying to do is say, I've got this free report that I think can help you. Can I send it to you? And check back in a week and see what you thought. That's usually a much better approach than, hi, I've got something to sell, and I'm going to try to ram it down your throat in 30 seconds before you hang up on me. What happens with this, they get that report, they read about me, they find out about me. I also have a plug in the back because it is a sales piece, so I'm going to talk about what I do and how I can help them. And then by the time I call them back, it's no longer really a cold call, it's more of a warm call. And also what I found on my site in my resources page, I have about 12 different things, reports like that and books and whatnot. I find a lot of people don't bother to even read them, but it looks impressive. Somebody who's taken the time to do all that, the perception sometimes is that that person must know what he or she is doing, or else they couldn't have come up with all these different things. Now, once they talk to you and see some of your work, they're going to know if you're a sham or not. But I believe a lot in perception, and not in a negative sense, not in a fool people sort of sense. Perception can work in your favor, and when you have a lot of these special reports or things like that, that creates a perception that you are the expert in your field. And that's what I think a lot of you would prefer to be, the expert in your field, the one to be seen as the one to call, not your competitors. Now, let's say you've written these articles for your blog, and they're on your blog, and maybe they're in a book, but where else can we put these articles? Well, if you do a Google search on article banks, you'll come up with a load of stuff. Now, I've got a link there. eZine Articles is one that I use. It's one of the more popular ones. What I do is when I have an article that I'd like to share outside of my blog, I'll put it on eZine Articles. They have they get more traffic than I do. And it also speaks to the importance of content. The reason they have a higher traffic is because they have so much content. No matter what you're searching on, chances are somebody's written an article on it, and it's on one of these article banks. I want to be exposed in different places for free. And since I can be on ezine articles for free, what I can do is get my name out there, and I get a lot of hits back to my site from those articles. And the other thing about these article banks is that others can use your articles. The rule is, though, that if they use your article, they have to include your resource or your bio. Okay? So now I've got somebody else using my articles on their site, exposing me to, again, more people than I would have known to expose myself to on my own. From there, we might as well just take it to magazines and newsletters. You've got all these articles that you've written. Why not use them in either your own magazine? Dale has his Magalog, or a newsletter. Could be an email newsletter, or it could be others in your niche. Maybe you're in agriculture. There's plenty of agricultural magazines. If you've written articles that would be useful for that industry, why not see if you can get your articles that you've already written? Again, you don't have to do extra work for this. You've already written the articles. Have them used in this sort of format, and get the hits back to your site, and get the exposure in other sorts of forums. And then you can create your own publications if you wanted to. You don't need to, though. I don't want to make this harder for you. You can go ahead and use other people's magazines or newsletters.